Hey guys, welcome to Power Within with me, Amy, your heart whisperer therapist. I'm a good wife.
Vicky, I'm the queen of rapid hypnosis,
Together with the Eastwoods, and we're going to be covering therapy,
hypnotherapy,
couples relationship therapy,
hypnosis, and all the other shit in between.
If it's current, if it's relevant,
we'll be covering it. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to Power Within. Today we're going to share our take on hypnotherapy and therapy.
And the difference between the two. For us, I would say there's a hell of a lot of similarities. But there was a comment granted the other day that said hypnotherapy is not therapy. And he had a valid point because it's not recognised in the NHS. Hypnotherapy is not prescribed. I think it's becoming more and more recognised. And I say it again, if we have any influence on it, hypnotherapy one day will become on par as a recognition for therapy.
Absolutely. Therapy is a very powerful tool, but so is hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy goes in so many different directions where you have got like anxiety, depression, phobias, fears. People come to us for different things. Flying was one of them last week.
Yeah, and and I know you're the same, whenever I see anybody for hypnotherapy, they might come for one thing, but the reality is there's several other things we might as well work on when you're in hypnosis. And I guess that's the same with therapy. You might get to the point of life going, I'm not coping very well. Whether it's bereavement, whether it's a breakup, whether it's a job, whether it's money stresses, whatever it is that creates the need for therapy, you come to a safe space and intentionally offload. And the idea of the therapist is to give you that safe space. It's to be non-judgmental, to almost facilitate a toolbox for you to repackage your problems differently. And I think hypnotherapy does exactly that.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't actually realise how powerful hypnotherapy is. But there's many times people come to you for therapy and within a session or two, they've had hypnotherapy and realised how powerful that can be.
Yeah, and we're not biased. We're not sitting here going, hypnotherapy is incredible and therapy is not. I studied both. I can't say for a reason. Hypnotherapy was accidental. It was the first third of my study. But it's the only thing I call phenomenal. But hypnotherapy has the ability to change our subconscious behaviours. Therapy doesn't have that ability. Therapy, I've seen a client now for 6 months, every couple of weeks, and she'll sit with me. And yes, she's got the safe space. Yes, she's creating self-awareness. Hypnotherapy could have probably sent her on her way 4 months ago.
Did you offer her?
I tell you, the biggest fear for a lot of people with hypnotherapy is they're out of control. And we know that, and we know that's the biggest challenge that we've got when anyone ever comes for hypnotherapy. And for religious reasons, she was a little bit skeptical. And so she came for therapy. So that is that's what we are doing. And she's doing some great work, because that's the one thing, even some of the messages we get, and you'll agree, it's lovely to hear when people call us incredible or say you've done amazing. Whatever work any of you do with a therapist or a hypnotherapist, ultimately the work's theirs. The progress is theirs because they're ready for the progress. So although it's lovely to hear that they're doing incredible, we can't really take the credit for it, because you know yourself, the change is because the client in front of us is willing and wanting it.
And that's the reason why I offer our stuff is you are powerful. Because people are out there powerful, but they don't realise that in hypnosis, it's just a therapeutic technique, like a guided meditation, really, moving forward. But a lot of people think hypnotherapy is where you're going to walk off clucking like a chicken. Everybody says that to me. I'm going to be clucking like a chicken. Well, no, you're not. Hypnotherapy is so much more than that. The fears, the phobias, the anxiety, what we deal with people most days. OCD has been a big one lately, where even people from quite far away has got in contact. I've had like Zoom calls, people coming in, seeing us face to face, and it's a nice thing when you're hearing that they're going back to school and they've got fear of germs, for instance, and they won't touch pens, pencils, tables, use bathrooms. And these things are just a knock-on effect, because then the children don't want to go to school. So then to bring hypnotherapy into that mix, where it's the last resort of, let's try this, the techniques and the work, what we've done on a one-to-one, and everything to do with that one child is back in school, not full-time, but is back in school, is embraced hugging a child or hugging one of his friends.
And he's made great improvements in 2 sessions. He's not completely done the work. There's more to be done.
But 2 sessions in that scenario has worked wonders, because I can't go into too much detail, but from him going back into school means the world to his parents and also the world to him, because he's wanting that change, and that's what one of the reasons why hypnotherapy works for him, because he's wanting and willing for the change. If you don't want the change, you're not willing for that change, and his parents are telling him you have to change, then the subconscious is not going to abide to that.
Yeah, and a separate topic when we talk about powerful, even maybe today, when we talk about the powerful words, you say it quite often, don't you? And it always takes me back to your army days. And there was a saying, can't means won't and won't means jail. But it does resonate with me, because if we say, I can't do that, we're not going to do that.
You won't do that.
Another powerful word when you do hypnotherapy on people and you say some of the fun stuff, try to unlock your hands. The more you try, the more you fail, the more you can't. That is how the brain is wired to certain words. Hypnotherapy almost flips that over, doesn't it? And that boy is doing incredible. And I'm a massive advocate for therapy, talking therapy, some psychodynamic work. But if he only had therapy as an option, he wouldn't have made that progress, because bearing in mind, he wasn't okay and comfortable talking. And that's the perks with hypnotherapy. We don't want to promote that we work with children, because I think we, as parents, it's not a direction we want to work with, but
it's something what we've fallen into, which is absolutely fine. And I think I'm proud the progress them children what I've been working with has took. It's something that I never thought I would want to go into, is working with kids. But lately it just seems to be parents reaching out and saying, is there any possibility you could get me in to see my child? Is that child willing and wanting that change? Yes. Fantastic. That's the difference. And again, with words, when I've said before about try is the powerful words in hypnotherapy is try and imagine. Try is a fail word. Anything what you want someone to fail, it's time to try. The more they try, the more they fail. So if I say, for instance, if I imagine that you've glued your hands together and poured soup in the palm of your hands, and the more you try to pull your hands apart, the more they stick. And the more they stick, the more you try. Nod your head if you understand. It's good. And then I say 1, 2, 3, eyes open. They open the eyes, and the more they try to pull the hands apart, the more they stick. And it's doing exactly what I'm saying. So then, if you go to another powerful word, which is imagine how far you can go in this job. Imagine how powerful you are. Imagine that powerful subconscious mind. Everything's imagine. So as soon as you say imagine into the subconscious, and imagine in hypnotherapy, your subconscious automatically imagines that scenario. And that's the reason why there's powerful words, and then there's, like I said, there's the fail safe words. So even now I've started, well, over the last years I've stopped saying I'll try to be better, even in my conscious, because in your conscious you still, it's a fail word. I'll try not to do that today. You're gonna go do that today. I'll try to eat better today. Well, I'm gonna eat crap anyway, because I've already said to myself I'm gonna try. If I say I won't, I'm going to imagine I'm going to eat salads all day, and I probably will.
And I remember when I was practicing and I did that hypnotherapy on you, and we talked about food was fuel. And I think I actually hypnotized myself in that moment, which I didn't think was possible. But for anyone, just in context, for some reason, my stored behaviour was, if I was out of the country, I would never eat seafood. That was my connection to getting food poisoning. Small detail, but this is how it was. And I remember saying to you about eating better, imagining that photo of you in the jungle or wherever you went in your mind. And the mind is incredible where you can end up going. But I asked you to imagine food was just fuel and you would make better decisions. And we then went to Spain that weekend. The menu comes out and I'm ordering salmon and rice, and I'm thinking, never in a million years would I eat salmon and rice abroad. Fine. The next day, the menu comes. I had like a prawn pasta. I'm thinking, I actually hypnotised myself whilst doing the work to you. And the power it holds for the change is incredible. And I know you work similarly, but what I tend to find whenever somebody comes for hypnotherapy for this reason, there's usually 3 or 4 things on top of that. I don't know how other hypnotherapists work, whether they just keep booking you in. But how we work, if you come to me, let's say this lady that came to me last month for a fear of the dentist, that is what brought her there. That is where she probably Googled, she felt vulnerable. That's why she came. But she was the most nervous person in life. Now, when I scored out of 100, she was a 96. That's what she told herself. A bird would move in the garden. She would panic. She wouldn't let anyone drive because she was that person that would be like gripping on. So we might as well do that work. She went to the dentist last week. That part's fine. But all the other parts of her life are now starting to realign and fall in. She was talking to a robin in the garden last week because she's now not fearing, her nerves being so high. And I know that you would do the most for a client in front of you. We can't promise that every hypnotherapist would do that.
But there's thousands of hypnotherapists out there who are absolutely fantastic. And it is about trying and seeing who suits them. Like some people see me and I might not suit their needs. But the good thing is with me and you, we can, if I feel like somebody needs more therapy than hypnotherapy, I can always just say, I'd like you to see Amy for a session. And our sessions don't always last an hour. I don't think I've had one which is an hour anyway, because hypnotherapy is also a little bit of talking therapy beforehand, because I need to know a little bit more about you, about, do you know where this has come from? And again, if you don't know where this has come from, that's okay, because your subconscious may hold that key. So you can even speak in hypnosis. So it is about putting people into a nice, calm, relaxing state. And everyone thinks that they're asleep. Hypnotherapy is not asleep. It's just a terminology what is used for hypnotherapy. So when I'll say back deep into hypnosis, or when I click my fingers and go sleep, people do look like they're asleep, but they're also in a very conscious way. They still can speak to me, and they feel like it's a nice, relaxing, calm state that they can actually speak, but calmly. And the answers are always there somewhere. Some people do have like memory blocks and don't want to go back to a certain event, which you don't have to take them back to a certain event, because that's another fear of people. I don't want to go back to that part of my life. Well, that's okay. You don't need to. You can just guide them through certain scenarios and see where their happy place is. And if they ever do go to a place where they don't want to be, I can say that when I click my fingers, you'll go back to that safe space. Again, nod your head if you understand it. And so they're communicating.
And one of the conversations, especially when we bring you out of hypnosis and we sort of do like a checkout, one of the things quite often people say is, there's a part of me talking to you. And it sounds alien, I know it does, but we can smile because we fully get where it comes from. And my sugar addiction client, she said to me a couple of weeks ago, when I'm nodding and when I've got my hand up and when I'm doing signals, it's not me, it's a different part of me. And I'm like, well, that's great. That's the subconscious part of you engaging, because you need the change. She deserves it. She's doing incredible. But it's just quite funny to hear. And even when we talked about addiction a few months back, and he described that part of him as a green wolf. And we'll all do it. We'll all go, oh, there's a part of me that wants this. There's a part of me that doesn't. There's a part of me that knows I need to eat better today. But there's a part of me that actually enjoys comfort with food. And like when you do parts therapy, there's almost a conflicting part and a creative part, isn't there? And when you do that work, she's more advanced than me because for whatever reason, I've not learnt it yet.
Because she's stubborn.
I don't know if it's about being stubborn. I love the fact that you can do that part. So if I have a client who I think she just needs maybe that little extra session, we have the privilege that I get to phone you and go, can you give me 20 minutes? And the client gets the best of both worlds. But we all have that part of me that wants something, but there's a part holding us back. Hypnotherapy gets you to release and undo that bit.
It's speaking to both parts. And again, you don't need to call out all the parts, because there's probably many different parts of you that wants that change or stopping you or whatever reason. But it's calling out that part of you, that conflicting part, what's always been there, what's always been. But you thank them parts for it as well, because it's actually created the person that you are. But now you have got the creative part or the motivational part, for instance, what wants to exceed, what wants to move forward, even if it's in a job or food or diet or with fears, migraines, anything. There's them parts of you that actually don't want that anymore. So that's where the change can be. So that's where you're just the mediator between them both. And both parts have sometimes have a different voice, which is really, really weird. So one part will speak like really angry, the other part's speaking really happy. But then you have to mediate between both parts and get that part basically to back down. But you also have to compliment that part for being there for so long, because that part has been there and it's done wonders for you. Like, it hasn't, but you have to say that to him. You have to, because everybody likes a compliment. So to be negative about that part and tell it all the negative stuff, it'll probably rebel. It's just like a human being, it sounds crazy, but that's how parts therapy works. So you thank both parts for being there, and you can probably even bring in the higher self and just all get to handshake on everything once you've mediated between them both and got that part to actually back down, and the other part to step up and be that version and embrace that person that you actually want to be.
And that might make loads of sense to some of you and absolute none to others. And that's okay. You can message in and you can ask as many questions as you want. If we've got the answer, we'll share it. Because I think the idea is giving you the power back to realise there's alternatives. And when we were talking earlier about the differences between therapy and hypnotherapy, they overlap so much. Okay, so 5 positive things for therapy. It's non-judgmental. It's a safe space for you. Well, hypnotherapy should be the same. The idea is therapy will help you to create some self-awareness. And yes, you find the answers that you need probably more independently with support from a therapist, where I guess hypnotherapy would be a little bit more leading. Would you say?
The hypnotherapy part would, it depends if you want to be authoritative or not. That's the thing. It depends how that client is. If you're leading, but most of the time it's client-centered. So I always let the client lead. They will tell me what they need, because you have to use their words as well. No point using my words in their subconscious, because it doesn't really add up.
Yeah. A lady said to me the other day something about a partner. She went, "Is a CUNT?" And she went, she's really prim and proper. She went, "I'm sorry for using that word." So obviously in hypnosis, I use that word. I don't know I don't know him. I don't know his personality, but that is her interpretation of him. So I just use that word back. And she smiled in hypnosis, probably because she wasn't expecting to hear it, but they were her words. So I get that.
That's good. But again, did you all 5 positive
No,
things?
because again, we talk about improving relationships. And when I do couples work, okay, they're both working to sort of find some common ground. But hypnotherapy will improve relationships along with that.
Yeah, I have actually done hypnotherapy on couples before, which I found really, really good and quite interesting. And I remember somebody saying, I spoke to another hypnotherapist before about it, and they were like, that you can't do that. I'm like, why can't you do that? Like the both, I did exactly the same with them. I put them both in hypnosis, and I got them to both speak to each other about what's going on, because then they're not arguing. How good is that? They're not arguing. And I did a bit of parts therapy with them both. And instead of joining hands with the subconscious, I got them to hold hands together and feel the energy flowing better between them both. Imagine that feeling. Imagine feeling that reconnection. Feel that right now. And they didn't argue for ages. I don't know if
why did that lady say you shouldn't do that?
Because I think she wasn't as experienced as what I am in hypnotherapy, but because she says it's very difficult. It's too difficult to do it with 2 people. So I can do it with 3 or 4 people. I don't really mind. Again, it's about confidence. My confidence is very limited on other things. When it comes down to hypnotherapy and hypnosis, people can sit in that chair and I know where I'm going with them and I know what I'm doing. And I'll come back out and you'll go, "How did that go?" "Yeah, it went all right." But sometimes I haven't got a clue what I'm doing there, because that moment, all my energy and passions in there working with that client, either that 1 or 2 or 3, it doesn't matter to me.
And the change happens, doesn't it? You know,
Change
the
happens,
work
yeah.
is incredible. And I'm glad you feel so comfortable and confident in hypnotherapy. Because if we talk of slight differences, I think 23 people on my course, and we'll break it down. The first year was therapy skills, but hypnotherapy. So we almost probably got blindfolded into learning hypnotherapy. 23 passed. So 23 could go out and practice hypnotherapy. They could charge for it. They could do some additional training. But either way, 23 of us were allowed out into the world as hypnotherapists. There's only 3 of us that practice it. And I think that's a massive thing down to confidence.
It's confidence, but also I think that course, because obviously we did the same course, but yours was, I found for me, the course never taught me enough about hypnotherapy to go out into the world, if that's what I was. I only went on that course for me to just get my certificate in hypnotherapy and diploma, but so we could charge. But then all the other stuff is done by other courses, and I've learnt so much more. I'm reading books, and I've like sort of navigated from one to the other and the other and another, and it's just followed suit. And I've found like all the time I've done hypnotherapy, it's just been like a sponge, where it's because I found it quite easy to learn hypnotherapy, where therapy skills, because it's probably sitting down talking and that interaction for such a long time with that client, I like to see change, and I like to be able to speak to them in hypnosis, opposed to being on a one-on-one. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you don't want that long-term work, and
because it's so long-winded. I don't want to see that client for 6 to 12 months. I want to see him for 3-4 times and then shake my hand and say thank you very much.
I said that to a lady the other day. I've seen her twice, and I said to her, don't take offence, but after your 3rd session, I would like to never see you again. And she went, what? She went, what about in your bar? I said, you're more than welcome to come into the bar. But if I'm honest, I always say to clients, and again, I can say this is probably different because how people get taught, it's about contracts and committing to 6 sessions or so on. Hypnotherapy, I always think, gift yourself 3 sessions. That's what I always say. I generally wouldn't see you more than 3. Sometimes I might have saw you a 4th. But after 3 sessions, little by little, your subconscious is already doing the work for you.
Yeah.
You don't need our assistance anymore. And I think for me, that's why it's so powerful, because financially it doesn't cost you a fortune and you're not waiting 6 to 12 months to get your life back on track. You know what I mean? I had a lady yesterday for fear of flying. I almost guess if I text her today, she's give her daughter the passport. When she come in yesterday morning, she's holding on to that passport with dear life because she doesn't picture going. I genuinely would believe at some point this week her daughter's going to get that passport and renew it.
Good. Subconscious mind's powerful. That's where it's all holding all your beliefs and all the fears and everything what you've sort of grown up imagining them fears because you've probably seen them from somebody else, which has created your fear. And just imagine that fear not been there. Imagine what your life would be like.
She's going to start travelling and embracing life
Absolutely,
with her family.
Sounds great. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Be safe.